Yes, welcome to the Terrible Warriors. I am one of your players in this campaign, not the GM, Justin Ecock, here to start it off. And before we introduce everyone to the show and explain what game we're going to be playing, I did want to start with just an acknowledgement. This game was originally, when we were recording today, November the 26th, we were going to sit down and be playing a Shadowrun game, and our game master is Mike Dodd running Shadowrun. If you've been following on Twitter and on Facebook, and you're a friend of Mike's, you'll know he's been going through some very serious medical issues. And so, knowing what was going on, but before we knew really what was going on, we had to reschedule a new game, and this is the game that we ended up going for. It was one that was also voted for by our Patreon players, so we were getting ready to run it, and we moved it up on the schedule. It's a weird day to record this game. It's a weird time to still be playing here, and this idea of the show must go on, I guess. We didn't want to cancel the podcast. And so here we are sitting around this table, and before we even start playing, I want to, and we all want to, dedicate this game to Mike Dodd, to his health and his recovery, to his wife Blair, and to everyone in his family kind of having to rally around and deal with his circumstances. And so, Mike, we love you, we miss you, we can't wait to have you back, and this game is for you. I know you really wanted to be here for Shadowrun, and that's not going anywhere. We will record Shadowrun and have it out when it's ready. And so for now, today, we are playing Mouse Guard. It's going to be a weird game because we've had 4 days of preparation. We're all kind of emotionally on a weird space, but this is, I think we're going to have a lot of fun, and we're really going to enjoy it. So that's it. That's my bit. It's out of the way. I'm here with my friends and players here at the Terrible Warriors around the table. From Edmonton, my counterpart GM, we have
Derek the Bard from Chasing the Muse.
And back here in Toronto, not actually Toronto, where? Brampton, Mississauga, Ajax? I can't remember where you're from.
I am in Brampton, and I'm Tom. He's an evil genius white.
And joining from our rewards program on Patreon, connecting in over Discord, we have
Noir. And that's basically all I go by.
That's Noir. And as a fun bit, your place here at the table was gifted by another fellow Patreoner. So a nice thing, just because, like with the NPC names and with other things, it doesn't have to be for you. If you want to hand it off to another friend or a member of the community, you're always allowed to do that. And of course, our GM coming in, sweeping in to pick up this game. We have, for his second time running a game on the show,
Will Mitchell.
Thanks a lot, Will, for putting this. We are playing Mouse Guard. This is a game I've heard about for years. It's a game I've owned for years, and I've never had a chance to play it. And with only a few days to prep, I was like, I don't have a chance to figure out how to run it. Who knows how to play it? And Will's like, oh, I know this setting. I'm ready. This is rad. And tell us a little bit about Mouse Guard. Get us and our listener sort of up to speed, as it were, as we dive into this first story.
So the world of Mouse Guard centers around a simple premise that mice, in fact, have a civilization or a society. And in this sort of setting, that is the Mouse Territories, a series of settlements and sort of little city-states that are spread throughout a nice bit of woodland, and that are protected from the nearly infinite number of things that want to kill and eat mice by the intrepid Mouse Guard. Part rangers, part the Watch from Game of Thrones, part paladins in general. They provide the sort of glue that holds mouse civilization in place by dealing with predators, by making sure that paths are clear, by enabling communication between these different settlements. In the game, you are going to be playing members of the Mouse Guard. They're based out of a sort of little mouse fortress called Lockhaven. And one of the most important duties of the Mouse Guard is to re-pour what is called the scent barrier. Along the eastern edge of the Mouse Territories, there is a vast expanse of wilderness that is untamed and wild and full of things like coyotes and wolves and bears, God help you. And the mouse territories keeps them at bay, keeps them out by using basically synthetic predator smell that they pour along that border, so that anything big and bad that wants to come in there thinks, oh, there's already a bunch of alpha wolves here. This isn't worth my time. Should the scent barrier fail, mouse society will fail.
So the scent barrier is the Great Wall in Game of Thrones. It's the only thing holding everything back.
Wall.
Yeah.
Except it's not tangible.
Except it's not tangible.
It depends. Have you ever smelled that kind of shit?
That's pretty fucking tangible.
That is true. It's not
Well, it is better. So,
on the other side of the mouse territories, there is a neighboring nation of weasels, the Dark Heather. A few years ago, there was a horrific war between the mouse territories and Dark Heather. The mice lost a lot of territory, a lot of people died, but they barely prevailed. And so a lot of people have sort of the scars of that in their minds. I like to describe this setting to people as basically Redwall, but written by George R.R. Martin. You are mice, and unlike in other games, you are not particularly powerful or noteworthy mouse, but you are a heroic mouse. But even the most heroic of mice weighs like, what, a third of an ounce and is an inch tall? No amount of swords and armor are going to stop a cat from killing you. And you wish there were house cats around. You're going to be dealing with things like owls and other nasty things like weasels.
And raccoons.
We were talking about raccoons
Tiny
earlier.
Trash pandas.
Exactly. There's a subtle bit of kaiju sort of in the feel of this game, in that you are small and weak and individually powerless, and everything else is more powerful and nasty. This particular role-playing game is in the Burning Wheel family of games. It was made by Luke Crane, and along with David Petersen, who is the sort of mastermind who set up and created this world and setting, and who makes incredible art. Mouse Guard, of course, is based off of a series of comic books, which I highly recommend you read. They are so good.
I'm gonna get into it. This rule book I have, it's the second edition, has some of the most beautiful artwork I've seen put into into one of these rule settings, and every single page has little bits, all original work from imagine here David Petersen and his Mouse Guard stories, and they really are help climatizing me to the game we're about to be playing. It's very, very. It's just a beautiful book just to own. Has the whole map on the inside sleeve. I actually noticed when you're talking about the Death Heather or the Dark Heather, where the weasels are from. I didn't notice this before until you mentioned it. They even have names of settlements that have been crossed out with a line, and I'm imagining now those are the ones that must have been lost in that war you were mentioning. So
exactly.
There's so much detail and care that's been put into this book. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. But also the mouse territories are largely city-states. There's lots of open wilderness between them that, while less dangerous than the wildlands or the Dark Heather, is by no means safe. And this is where the Mouse Guard spends a lot of its time. They don't really have, offices in the various settlements and towns. They mostly work from town to town in the spaces in between. And then, they're staying at inns or with their friends and family when they stop by in actual settlements. So with that in mind, let's go around and talk characters a little bit. The game focuses on a patrol of mouse guards. And our patrol is made up of a variety of interesting mice. Let's maybe start with Derek. Who are you playing?
I'm playing Sloane. She's a young recruit for the Mouse Guard. She's not
Enderpaw.
Yes, she's not much of a fighter, but she's a good scout and apparently herbalist or something. With this poison lore on my sheet.
Yeah. So she knows what plants are not pleasant to things. Interesting. All right. Let's go to Noir. Noir, who are you playing?
I am playing the uninventively named Noir Lechat, a mouse who is batshit crazy and completely convinced that his family line descended from cats. He is... He fights using a spear, and he seems to be roughly about, a jack-of-all-trades sort of character.
Nice. A well-rounded but ultimately unbalanced mouse. Perhaps a
Unstable.
little bit of psychological damage from that previous war we mentioned.
Oh yeah, a survivor of the Weasel War.
Yeah. How about you, Justin? Who you playing?
I'm playing Ocean, a guard mouse, which is, in terms of the ranking, I'm not a leader, but I am a full mouse guard. And Ocean's has aspirations to be a patrol leader one day, but also has an issue of always hefting his axe into any situation without so much as consideration. I was just looking, some of his skills involve being a haggler and a militarist, but has a very strong code there of not leaving any mouse behind. And whether that's out in the field in battle or just making sure that the hungry are fed, kind of all encompass Ocean's philosophy.
Nice. And then Tom, the erstwhile leader of this, is your character. Tell us about him.
Okay, so my character is named Tom, and this was not my idea to name him. That was kind of the pre-generated name.
Thom.
And then afterwards, I guess other people decided they could rename their characters, but I just stuck with him. I figured if someone else picked Tom, it would have been confusing. Anyway, so he's a gray mouse. It says he's 40 years old, so I guess we're using human years here.
Yeah, the game in some ways really harps on the you are mice and that's it, but in other ways you do have some anthropomorphic qualities.
Yeah, they live in stone castles. And
Exactly. You live in stone castles, you wear armor, you drink beer, make candles, and live to be, 40, 50, 60 if you're lucky.
Apparently,
Yeah.
I have a skill for making windows. I'm a glazier.
Like glass in general, but yes.
So, excuse me. So my character is kind of the grizzled vet of the group, and he's Sloane's mentor and is trying to forge her into a warrior who would make a fine mouse guard. And he is very careful and quiet and tough.
Nice. Seen some stuff. So that is our patrol. And this patrol has just actually completed an important mission. The matriarch of the Mouse Guard, Gwendolyn, the sort of leader of the organization, had given orders to your patrol to go out to the eastern parts of the Mouse territories to a small town called Wolf Point. And from there, you're going to use that sort of as your base of operations to then go out and then re-pour the scent wall at the end of the spring. The scent wall needs repouring roughly twice a year, sometimes more, depending on the weather. And so you had that sort of critical task to do. And things were in your favor. The spring has been fairly pleasant, if a little bit wet. And you managed to get the section you were assigned reconstructed and secured. And now you're on your way back to Lockhaven for further orders, essentially.
Mhm.
The day finds you sort of making your way along the path, and you're approaching a small town called Grass Lake. You've been through Grass Lake on your way out here. You know that Grass Lake is sort of situated amongst the roots of a couple of trees along the bank of the aforementioned Grass Lake. It's a nice town, sort of tucked out of the way in the roots, fairly idyllic. The weather is very pleasant. There's a soft breeze coming from the west. It's a nice early morning. The dew isn't too heavy. You can feel that summer is just starting to ramp up. Spring is done. You've maybe had 1 or 2 days of proper summer weather, and you can feel that there's going to be more of that coming. And so as you make your way down the path, off to your left, you start to hear something crashing through the bush. And you start to hear the sounds of a mouse in distress, yelling for help, help, help. A giant monster, a monster in Grass Lake. It's tearing down the town. Please help us.
Well, so much for
I'm
that
going-
bath I was looking forward to. I heft my axe.
I take cover.
I acquire useful herbs and objects.
Maybe pick up a nice throwing rock.
Yeah,
I'm-
yeah, or just
I'm-
check your supplies.
Yeah, I'm actually going because I have a high scout. Is there anything I can climb up to get a better view before we go in?
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, you can. You knew you were pretty close to town, but again, all the mouse towns are pretty tucked away. You can't really see anything from here, but there are some trees around. You can scamper up a few branches.
This mouse
Sure.
that's running towards us. Are we
am I
looking
rolling?
after? Are we looking after
You're
them?
just going to do it, Derek. We don't need to worry about rolling.
Cool.
The mouse that was screaming for help. I mean, are they with us, or are they just continuing down the path in the other direction?
Well, if you pause a moment, you see that it sort of breaks through sort of the undergrowth and crawls over some moss. And as a matter of fact, Tom, you recognize this mouse. This mouse,
I recognize a lot of mice.
You do. This mouse is named Harold, and you know that he's a brewer from Grass Lake.
Wait, this is my sworn enemy.
You know him.
He's a brewer from Grass Lake that you don't like?
He's a mouse named Harold.
You're a mouse named Sloan.
So,
It's funny. The mice have cute little. They think they're people.
To
They
be
do think
fair,
they're people.
my mouse doesn't think he's people. He thinks
Well,
he's
I'm-
a cat.
True.
well, I'm going to watch carefully from a place of cover where I can assess the situation, make the most informed decisions possible.
Yeah, I
I
mean-
don't see any monsters so far, correct?
I don't.
You do not see any monster he's talking about so far, and this guy is a shifty person you do not care for.
Okay, well, I care for
Okay.
all mice, and I don't care for the way Thom may feel about Harold. I'll take Harold behind me, behind my axe, and don't run off into the woods. It'll be even worse.
Once
for you.
once you guys sort of like make yourselves known to him, and he sees you,
Yeah.
he comes sort of scrambling up. Oh, thank God. Guards, mouse guards, please help us. There's a huge creature. It's parked itself in the market, and it's just crushing buildings. My brewery is going to be destroyed. And he's all sort of a flutter. Now, Sloan, you got up to a higher sort of vantage point to see if you can see anything. You can kind of see sort of like what would have been the harbor front for Grass Lake from here. And yeah, you see there's like quite a few boats that are sort of out and don't look like they've got any mice in them. In fact, you can see there's a little sailboat like on its side completely, and it looks like the docks have taken quite a bit of damage.
Oh god, it's an otter, isn't it?
What do I? Oh yeah, do I see the monster though?
You can't see the monster from here.
Okay.
If it's an otter, we're in trouble.
Do we hear any like Godzilla calls off in the distance?
No, you don't hear any Godzilla calls in the distance.
I want to ask Harold to describe the creature. Maybe there's some, like, obviously he's distraught, but if there's
I
some defining
scamper
features.
back down and report back on what I saw.
Nice. Okay, so he's sort of just beside himself with worry, and it's huge, and it's god, the beak. It's
Beak.
Oh, it's a duck.
Hey.
It's and like he's on the verge of fainting. If you want to get some information out of him, you can maybe try and persuade him, or you can maybe heal him to calm him down.
Yeah.
You could manipulate him, tell him some sweet lies.
Okay. I guess I'm going to come out of hiding and go over it. And I'm going to ask him some questions myself. Is it coming this way?
Okay, so
It's going
seeing
this
you,
way. We have to go to Grass Lake now. We have to stop this thing. We have to save these people.
It is currently crushing his brewery.
Our immediate responsibility is the people in this village. Once we know they're safe, we can go over and assess the situation there.
What do
I
you
need
mean?
to know if it's coming this way.
We're not in a village, Tom. We're in the middle of a
okay.
trail.
Yeah, you're outside
We're en
the
route.
village still.
We're en
Okay,
route
okay.
to Grass Lake.
It's attacking the village.
He stabbed
He's
Okay.
me.
running for help.
Yeah, he came running out into the trail where we found him on the road. I'm happy to give him like any water or provisions. Like I've got healing herbs on me, and like just stir up a quick like iced tea of healing herbs and something for him to drink, get him back his power.
Nice. I love it.
And
cool, refreshing sweet tea, just what the panicking mouse needs.
exactly, just nice calmingness, a little bit of calamine in it, and
More sugar.
and and I mean, and I've got my axe. I mean, it's like as soon as he's gonna be safe, he's gonna be fine. We gotta go now to Grass Lake, sir. I remember the fact that I'm a lower ranking guardsman.
Agreed.
All right,
All
so
right, let's fan out and approach carefully.
okay, so you guys sort of make your way down the trail now with more purpose than the sort of relaxed pace the morning had set for you. And yeah, you come to the sort of most sort of not exactly the outskirts. There's a lot of like basements and tunnels in this place, but what is effectively the upper edge of town. And you see pretty quickly that there's a lot of mice in the streets. They're all clustered together in a pretty tight clump. And although you don't hear any sort of like Godzilla-style roars, you do hear like a groaning sound. As if something wooden has a great deal of weight on it. And then
It's a duck.
Okay, so I'm going to guess by the fact that everyone is clustered together that they're not in immediate mortal danger. Otherwise, they'd be running in all directions.
indeed, it looks more like they're sort of like looking on in horror / arguing about what to do.
Okay, then I guess we're gonna have to push through the crowds and see what's causing all this.
Where's the mayor?
Great. So as you guys sort of push your way through the crowd, people, of course, are seeing you. They're seeing the cloaks that you wear that show that you're a member of the Mouse
They're
Guard.
seeing my axe.
And of course, you've got a friggin' axe. They're reacting to you. The Mouse Guard are well known and generally very well regarded. And you get about halfway through the crowd when you can start to sort of see between the ears. Grass Lake is, again, it's sort of spread between a few trees and in their sort of gnarly crawling roots. Most of the buildings are sort of under the roots, and there's a few that are sort of out and sort of in between the spaces. And these all center around a little sort of basically a sandy sort of patch that makes up the market of Grass Lake. Occupying nearly the entire market is the biggest snapping turtle you have ever seen.
Oh dear.
Oh crap!
Rodan.
He's just massive.
Gamera.
Yeah, Gamera.
We're actually fighting Gamera.
You're actually going to be probably, hopefully not necessarily fighting, but dealing with Gamera.
Luring Gamera away from Grass Lake, perhaps. Not.
There's a lot of options.
Yeah.
Right now, it's sort of got one of its big, nasty, clawed flipper feet up on a multi-story little mouse building. It might have been at some sort of administrative building or something. And the weight of just that hand has toppled the first few floors of it. And the groan you heard was the building sort of shifting on its foundation.
Is there any evidence that there are mice in those buildings still?
Not that you can see. You can see that it is basically wedged between two large buildings that used to flank the market.
Mm-hmm.
One of which Tom recognizes as the brewery that Harold runs.
Not the brewery. My cabbages.
Okay.
The other building you see has quite a few chimneys on it. It's probably some sort of bakery or a forge or something. They deal with fire in there.
Oh,
So
excellent.
if it's between two buildings, can we get onto its back from one of them?
You certainly could, assuming the building's sturdy enough.
Okay. So which city is this? Which village is it?
Grass Lake.
Grass Lake.
Okay, right. So
Just south of Wolf
there
Point.
are no other mouse guards within this village. It's basically up to the four of us right now, right?
Yeah, I mean,
again, mouse guards don't generally have like permanent posts in the towns.
yeah, there are groups of
You have a
patrols.
few outposts in the wilderness that are manned only by mouse guard, but other than that, you kind of come and go.
And
the cities rule themselves.
And to make matters more complicated, Grass Lake is really on the edge of the mouse territories. So it's unlikely that there's even a patrol that's going to be heading out here unless they're on very specific business. So
there's no point in sending a messenger for reinforcements.
No, there'll be no time.
It's gonna be way too late.
The nearest reinforcements would be patrolling the scent border that you just relayed a couple of days away, and also you don't want to take people off the scent border if you can help.
It looks like immediately
Okay.
there are no civilians in any direct danger. They're not in the buildings that we know of.
No, we need
no.
to drive it off.
And yeah, you can see that the crowd is, like, again, they're arguing amongst themselves, and a lot of the talk is now focusing to your arrival.
I'm saying...
Okay. Does anyone have any bows?
Well, I was about to suggest, perhaps if we've got this bakery with a forge and fire and ready to go, the buildings are lost, but if we can get that fire bigger, we might be able to scare it away before it does any more damage to Grass
If we
Lake.
could cause irritation to it, that might drive it away too. Not
Do you have any poisonous or sedative herbs on you?
not that's going to affect something that big.
We could get it drunk on
Does
beer.
anyone in the town have a bow that can be fired?
Well,
Yeah, like some grizzled old fur sort of just like hands you a bow. Oh, sure, if you want to try. Damn fool. This is what I was telling you, folks. These guard have spent the last few months in Wolf Point. They've been corrupted by those savages. There'll be no help.
Okay, I'm just going to put my claw right over his mouth.
do we still have the brewer with us, Will?
Okay.
Yeah, Harold has been making his way slowly.
Sloane basically walks, I guess, up to Harold. Your brewery. Do you brew any strong spirits?
I just set up a still a few weeks ago, yes.
Do you have any available that aren't in the building right now, or that we can get at?
There's some in the building.
I have a plan.
So do I.
Okay.
So do I, and it involves blowing everything up.
Is this the only bow in the town?
Tom, what is
How many-
your plan with the bow? Could you just extrapolate rather than keeping it a secret?
Hey,
we just want to know.
We have a fire.
Yeah.
We can heat the arrows and fire it into the turtle's eyes and blind him.
I like this idea.
Okay.
I've got an idea that involves both of those things.
My
You could-
idea. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, can I continue your idea?
Well,
Was if we can get some spirits into a barrel, set it alight, and slip it underneath one of the plates of the turtle's shell, we might be able. The irritation might drive it back into the water.
I was thinking something very similar, except it involves setting the turtle on fire.
Or could we just take a moment? Is it possible that something that Harold was cooking up has attracted the turtle here in the first place?
Yeah,
And
it's possible.
if there's a strong scent that he's been working on that he only got set up that's in that building, maybe we can relocate it outside Grass Lake and the turtle will just follow it away.
That's a good point.
These are all good sort of ideas.
Okay,
I'll give you guys
so why don't
just
we do all of them?
I'm going to give you guys just some more information.
Okay.
The turtle right now just seems to be chilling out. It's definitely like eyeing the crowd of mice on the far end of town with a very sinister reptilian gaze, but it looks mostly happy just to chill on the warm sand.
Okay. So when you said it was wedged between the buildings, I thought it was stuck.
No, it's just
No.
It's just lying
It's
down
wedged-
for a summer
It's
nap.
wedged in the buildings in the same way that, like, if you put a pillow beside you, you're wedged between a pillow and whatever's on the other side of you.
So then
Yeah.
we definitely don't want to provoke him.
Yeah, there is nothing in this city that it can't unmake without even trying.
Okay.
In terms of sort of the townsfolk, you can see that there are two mice that do seem to be in charge, that are with various groups sort of passionately arguing sort of one thing or another. In terms of smells that you can detect, because you're mice, you have a pretty good sense of smell. Obviously, you can smell sort of the wet, gross smell of the turtle now that it's starting to permeate the town. You can smell that there is obviously some bread being baked somewhere, but also like quite a bit of smoke. You suspect that building with the chimneys is in fact a bakery.
I want to chop the chimneys down like a tree with my axe.
We could also try and smoke the turtle out.
Mm-hmm.
Make the
And another thing to keep in mind, fire's great, but this town is literally built of trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's dangerous to mess around with fire. Probably effective, but if you screw it up, you could catastrophically destroy the whole town.
The turtle seems to be having a nice like nap out in the pre-summer air. Maybe just making this place to just not be that palatable, making it uncomfortable, smoking it out. Or luring it away with whatever brought it here in the first place.
Okay, so I have the skill Lore Mouse, and I've got a 2 for that. Can I use that to search my memory for what I know about turtles?
Yeah, you can. In fact, you can even take a good look at this turtle and see if you can suss out some of like what it's thinking, why it's here, what it can do.
Okay, so do I add that to one of my abilities, or is it just the 2 dice?
Nope, it's going to be just those dice.
Okay.
Now, do you have a relevant wise that can apply to this?
I adage-wise, leaf-wise, beer-wise, mushroom-wise, so I don't think so.
Not particularly. Now, people could offer to help you as well. And if you had any gear that would help you, like maybe you had like books about local animals and beasts, that might help. But again, I don't think you do. So it's a really matter of anybody's going to sort of talk this out with you and maybe give you a hand with a relevant skill of their own.
I mean, I've got on me carpenter, transport wise and axe wise. I mean, if we need to deconstruct some buildings, quick, I could probably help you with that.
I'm also a smith.
Nice.
I can work glass, metal, and poisons, apparently.
Or at least
I
you
have a
know
question.
about them. Yes.
Resources. You mentioned I could roll that or something if I want to try and find resources of some sort?
You absolutely can. Resources is, in this game, how you basically handle buying and finding and getting stuff. You can roll resources to try and find something. The rarer or the more valuable or hard to get it is, the harder the check. But some really basic stuff you can kind of just get.
If we can decide upon a course of action, I could go and try and track down what we'll need.
Okay,
So
well,
I've
I
got
guess
a 6 in that.
I'm going to make my roll if no one can help me with that. I want to see if I can understand what is attracting this turtle and...
Could I use survivalist or weather watcher even to help?
You know what? I'm gonna say, because again, this is a turtle and he's obviously basking. I think weather watcher will actually be appropriate to help on this.
So do I roll or do I just give Tom a die?
He just gets to add a dice. If we were playing this around a table, the game asks you physically pass a dice. And of course, you also describe how you're helping.
I have 3 dice in Weather Watcher as well. I don't know if I can combine my own skills or just take his.
No, you can kind of just take his or your own wises.
Okay. All right, so I'm rolling 3 dice.
You're gonna be rolling 3 dice, and you're looking for 2 successes.
2 successes. Ooh, that's gonna be tough. Okay. I got 3 fails.
Oh!
I know nothing about turtles.
You know nothing about the turtle.
It's a monster, you say.
Now, how you were trying to, as you're sort of thinking about it, describe what you're doing as you're like, scratching your chin and getting a good look at this thing. Just describe what you're doing.
Okay, I'm thinking very intently. I don't know what... I guess I'd be resting on my sword a little bit with
Okay, so you're just leaning on your sword and just staring at this thing across the market. Okay, you're not doing a more involved investigation. I'm just curious so that I can then decide what's fictionally appropriate for the coming badness. Okay, so Tom.
Yes.
I will let you succeed on this.
Oh no.
In exchange for taking the angry condition. As you're thinking, you can hear Harold coming up behind, and he is just griping about the turtle and how it's going to ruin its house and how he got the most useless mouse guard possible. He never should have gone off. They should have sent somebody else because he hates your guts right back.
Okay.
So you can let that bother you.
That.
Or you can just straight up fail.
I'm gonna let that bother me if it means that I gain some insight.
Great. So you are now angry, and you get some insight on your foe. You know that the snapping turtle, it's probably been attracted here by the heat. it's still early in the summer, and it had been a kind of rainy spring. And so while it's been nice on land, the grass lake is actually still pretty cold, particularly deep down where this guy was probably hanging out for much of the winter. And it just saw a nice, bright, sandy spot to haul its carcass up and get some sun. And that seems to be mostly what it's doing. You can also tell that it's kind of starting to realize that, hey, dinner is provided at this convenient spot. It is increasingly looking like it may want to start going for some mice. You also know that just not only do they have like the nasty like hooked jaws, and they're big and huge and basically invincible, but you also know that snapping turtles have way longer necks than they seem to have. They're surprisingly long-necked. It doesn't look like it most of the time, but if it wants to, it can really put on some reach.
Okay, so I guess I'm going to relay a little bit of this to the others. So do we as mice, as a society, understand that turtles are cold-blooded? Would that make any sense to explain, or would I just be like, turtles like warm things?
I mean, you generally understand that reptiles need to warm up before they can really get doing stuff.
Okay.
Again, so, you have enough science that like you can manufacture synthetic wolf piss. So like,
yeah, that's true.
You're remarkably far along the tech tree for a medieval society.
I like the idea of smoking it out. I also have Tom, since you're the one calling the shots as our leader, I have an orator skill if you need me to address the crowd if we want to bring them into our plan.
Okay,
four mouse guard are good, but having like a citizenry to like carry buckets or help chop something down or light something on fire might be helpful, or to just tell them like get the hell away from here before he starts eating you.
Okay, so we do need to get everyone somewhere safe. If the turtle is attracted by the fire, then putting out the fire should hopefully...
I think he's attracted by the heat of just the cobblestone market that he's sitting on between the two buildings. It's just the general pleasantness of this village, and he's just sat down between these two buildings. But we've got those chimneys. I think Derek's got the right idea here. If we can smoke up this bakery and just create the air to just make it cough, and this is just more inconvenient than necessary.
Yes,
it'll just swim away.
The issue is though that we would have to get into. Is it a foundry or it's a bakery?
It's actually a bakery, and the building is kind of damaged.
Okay, so
send me in. I don't mind.
We would have to get in that, and to get there, we would have to be close enough to the turtle that it could potentially get us. Especially
we could use
because
the buildings as covering going through the back.
So, unless we can come up with some way to distract the turtle, I'm not suggesting we use someone as bait, but we need something to get him to not notice us as we go in and create the smoke.
And so, as you guys are deliberating, the two mice who had sort of been off and sort of like having sort of leading arguments with other groups of mice, you now spy them sort of marching towards you. And they sort of approach and sort of speak up.
I heft my axe.
I acquire useful herbs and objects.
I'm going to find somewhere less visible to stand.
You're going to kind of blend into the crowd a little.
Yep.
For the audience who's listening, part of this game is instincts. These are sort of automatic actions that are assumed that your character is doing. Playing for and against them can gain you points that are useful in the game. And this is everyone hilariously applying their not particularly relevant
Mine was pretty relevant. They're coming in. I want to intimidate them before they start talking smack to our leader.
They're getting that.
Yeah.
And so... one of them, the lady mouse, she sort of smacks the other guy in the shoulder and says, see? They're fine warriors. They wouldn't send just imbeciles out to the scent border. They're tough. They'll be able to handle this. And Oswald, the other one, sort of shakes his head. Mildred, listen, I don't think it's a matter of can they fight. It's can they do it without destroying the town. And so they sort of march up and introduce themselves. Mildred is... sort of one of the head mice of Grass Lake, and Oswald is the other.
Oswald is my mentor, in fact.
Well, this is not the same Oswald. He's not a
it's
member
a
of the
different
Mouse Guard.
Oswald. Okay.
Yeah, there are enough mice in the territories. There's
Yeah.
occasionally repeated names. And yeah, Oswald says, "Thank you so much for coming, and thanks to Harold for bringing you and finding you. What luck! We thought this would take longer. There's a lot of people who don't want to leave. A lot just want to just stay in their homes. But if this thing starts digging, nowhere would be safe. I'm advising that we should evacuate and just hope this goes away on its own and rebuild whatever damage it does." Mildred's just getting more and more incensed by this. And she sort of pipes up, "That's ridiculous. We need that bakery in working order. We've got barely enough food as it is. We wouldn't survive the trek to Wolf Point. God help us if we go to Wolf Point, those savages. Anywhere else is going to be a longer, more difficult trek. We die on the way. No, we've got to drive it off. We got to fight. We should kill it." And she's obviously pretty amped up.
I like her plan.
And both of them in turn are sort of looking to you for approval and support.
Oh, yes, a bakery will be a nice sight in an empty town. Wouldn't want to go getting your people killed, would we?
Well, I think we should try and drive it off, but also be prepared to get these mice out of here. If we need to, we'll escort them back to Wolf Point and find another route back to Lockhaven. But I think we've got what we need to be able to try and drive it away or lure it away. I mean, taking a fight on head on, that's just how we all die.
And so Mildred kind of grumbles.
We are going to do whatever we can to get rid of the turtle, but everyone needs to stay as safe a distance as they can until this plays out. I don't want anyone panicking or rushing back into their homes to grab one last thing. They need to keep their distance until this threat is neutralized.
So it sounds like you kind of have two issues on your hand.
I do want to ask these two, confirm, there are no one in these buildings, right? Like, this isn't going to get turned around and we find out that there's a baby inside the bakery.
They both kind of go, well, you can see that they look uncomfortable for a second. And sort of Oswald pipes up and he sort of puts his hat in his hand. He's got like a nice little sort of Robin Hood looking hat. Most of the town is got tunnels and basements and things between them, and when it crashed through the wharves, we've got about five mice unaccounted for. We think that they were down in some of the warehouses by the waterfront. They might actually be right under it.
Okay, well, they're our priority now. We have to get them out. I'm going to go get them. I want to rescue them.
Yeah.
So plans of attack.
So the tunnels have collapsed, so the only way in is through the surface. On the other side of the turtle, over by the wharf. Wonderful.
Or at least we're pretty sure that they have collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about the setting.
Yes, please.
If we're advanced enough to make synthetic wolf piss, does that mean that we have plumbing?
Not really. You've got like eaves trough level plumbing, like garderobes and stuff. But
the wolf piss is more like an apothecary thing.
So not like fire hydrants or anything like that?
No, not quite that advanced. You're like a step above aqueducts.
Send me in to go find the missing mice while Sloan helps to build up the fire and smoke this thing out.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys want to divide into one group smoking it out, one group
search and rescue.
Rescuing
Yep.
and evacuating?
And we could probably use some of the tunnels as well, at least the ones that aren't collapsed, to spread the smoke out a little bit, to really create a haze that it...
I don't think it's a good idea to funnel the smoke through the tunnels, because if there are people down there, they're going to choke to death. Besides, heat rises, so I'm not sure how we're going to get
there's only 5 mice that are unaccounted for, and I'm going to go find them. So if they're in the tunnels, I'm getting them out of the tunnels, because the tunnels are at risk of collapsing anyways under the weight of the turtle. The mice need to be ready to evacuate the town if things go wrong. And so, I'll do search and rescue and, make sure that the rest of them don't get in your way as we try to, discourage this guy from, eating everybody.
Okay, who is the stealthiest here?
It's probably Noir.
I have scouting 3.
Scout's how
I
you
have
hide.
scout 4.
Okay, you have Scout 4.
Yep.
Then you're the one that's going to be getting to the fire without the turtle noticing him.
That was the
Noticing
plan.
her. Okay.
Okay.
Sloane is a she. Yes.
She,
Yeah.
yes.
So you're going to send Sloane to sneak into the bakery. Great. And then who's going to work on the sort of search and rescue? I think that was Justin.
Yeah,
was
I
looking at
heft
that.
my axe.
Okay.
Nice. Is anybody going to help them, or are they going to go solo?
I'm going to help Sloane. I'm going to try. I gotta find some way to distract the turtle and keep it from eating her as she goes to the fire.
Okay, Noir.
I mean, you also have the town mice to work with. They may take some cajoling, but they will sort of like be willing to work with you, possibly. Probably Harold wouldn't, but
Yeah, I want to bring the crazy bastard Noir along with me then for the search and rescue.
Yeah, sure.
okay.
Scouting
and
would probably be helpful for actually finding
who are
people as well.
the two towns mice who came up to us? What were their names? Because they're they seem to be the ones in charge.
Oswald and Milthred.
Oswald and Milthred. They seem to be the ones sort of de facto in charge right now.
They do seem to be, yeah.
So-
the crowd is just sort of like chittering and arguing amongst itself.
Okay.
They just don't know what to do. Nobody can really agree on a course of action.
Let them know that if this turtle wakes up, they it'll be quick and it might come without warning. So make more of a distance. I'm not comfortable with the perimeter, so I'm gonna task Oswald and Milthred with bring the people that you have and get them further to the further away into safety, and I'm gonna go find the missing ones, and we're gonna try and scare it off. And if things go wrong, be prepared. We're gonna be leaving.
Okay.
Okay.
So they seem to think this is sensible.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to circle around the other side of the turtle, the side that is opposite from where Sloane is going to be.
Mm-hmm. So you're basically going from the brewery side.
Yes, from a safe distance, and I'm going to find someplace with suitable cover and just shoot arrows at it to distract it and hopefully irritate it a little bit so it doesn't notice what Sloane's doing. Of course, I'm not actually going to start shooting until Sloane's close enough that this can happen. And then
The arrows are going to be a distraction at best. It's got very tough skin.
that's the point. It's only going to be a distraction.
Well, but this is the thing I want to sort of highlight. You're going to need some pretty good shots to even be a distraction. Right?
Okay.
Like you're going to need to shoot it in the eye for it to notice you're shooting it.
Then that's what I'm going to have to do.
Yeah, it'll be tough, but it'll be effective if you do it.
Okay.
I mean, you
All right,
don't
so
even
that's
like
your
Harold.
estimate.
You don't like Harold. You don't like the brewery. You could just blow up the brewery and have it land on the turtle. That would be a
But
distraction.
that's not really safe for everyone.
All
And
right.
the town doesn't have a brewery.
The town doesn't have a brewery anymore, anyways. This thing looks like it's
Yeah, and its
Bro,
economy
where you're at.
collapses.
All right, so
All right.
that's your plan. What you're
Plus,
hoping
I
to
like
do.
beer.
Nice. So then, Sloane, how are you going to try and get into the brewery?
or the bakery.
Or sorry, the bakery. Thank you.
Is there a back way that I can get in, like a back door, or
There's probably a back door, almost certainly. You could also ask around and find out who owns the place. They would probably have some insider knowledge.
helpful. Yep.
Okay, so
Okay.
if you take a few moments as you're preparing to sort of ask around, it doesn't take long for somebody to step forward. It's a sort of like tawny colored mouse named Honeywind, great name. Sort of introduces himself and yeah, I'm the baker here. He sort of nods and his eyes are permanently fixed basically on his life's work being destroyed. You wanted to do what?
Smoke out the turtle.
Oh, okay. Well, there is a back way in, but I don't know how covered it is. And we've got a cellar, but it's not really connected to much to keep out water. Once you get in there, you're probably best off. I'll for the town, you're best off burning what flour's in there. I don't have enough wood to make significant smoke, but if you throw in the flour, it'll do it.
Throw in some leaves.
Yeah, we could bring in some leaves. But yeah, so Honeywind will sort of give you the layout of the interior, so you know which way to go. The back door is kind of like on a corner, and the corner of the building obscures it from the turtle's view. But if it were to basically swing its head to the other side of the market, it would see you pretty clearly.
So if Tom provides the distraction as I'm going in.
Yeah, if he's successful, there's no chance of it spotting you at all.
Okay, let's
If
do
it's
it.
not, it might.
Well, I have my lucky claptrap dice ready to roll, so.
Oh, nice. All right, so that's the plan for the market. Now, as for the evacuation and rescue, what's your plan for that? How do you guys want to approach that?
So
Well, we're gonna need to figure out where the entrance to the tunnels are.
yeah, and go ahead.
Oswald will kind of like point out like a couple of buildings around that have sort of connect into the tunnel network.
Yeah, my concern is that the tunnels have collapsed. We'll have to make our way through like the routes on the outskirts to where the wharf is. Like make our way around the turtle to the other side, probably where the turtle came up from the shoreline. But if we can make a round into those buildings, then we'll start searching the tunnels for the mice who are trapped on the other side of town, and then just bring them back if we have to, one at a time until we find all 5.
Okay, so did you want to go through the tunnels? It's better cover, but more uncertain. Going
I have a question.
through the routes is you're going to get closer, but when we're there, it's a bit more dangerous. Yes, question, Noir.
I have Rockwise. Would that let me look at the walls of the tunnels to see which ones are, just about ready to collapse?
With Rockwise, I think that would give you a pretty good idea of how any of the rocks in the tunnels are sort of holding up. You'd be able to recognize a loose rock with Rockwise. I think that's a fair use of that.
Cool, great. I'm glad I'm bringing you along. Let's go try the tunnels then. Oswald seems to know his way around these tunnels, but where the areas that might be collapsed, is there another I'm trying to picture this in my head. Is there a way, a building that might connect to the tunnels to the side that isn't collapsed, that he believes that these 5 that are missing are, like rather than a less direct route, but one that, like, I don't know what this maze looks like.
Yeah, fair enough. If you take the route sort of through the bottom of the brewery, the side that the turtle has smashed through had like a small pub that connected, and that might actually be where people are.
Okay.
So that'll sort of get you there, sort of the most directly. But it is also the area that's bearing a lot of the turtle's weight right now.
Well, time's of the essence.
Yes, it is, because that turtle is looking increasingly hungry.
That's the way we got to go. If we try to pussyfoot our way around, we're more likely to find up with 5 dead mice. So that's the route I want to take. How do you feel about that, Noir?
Let's do this.
All right, away we go.
All right. So we're going to resolve this with some straight up simple rolls to get things going. I would like my evacuee team. Please make a scout test, because you're going to be sort of searching through these tunnels. I'll certainly allow whoever's rolling to apply Noir's Rockwise.
I've got 3 to scout. What have you got, Justin?
To scout, I don't have any on scout. I have survival and pathfinder and fighting and axe-wise.
All right, so it's looks like you're going to be rolling that, Noir.
Okay, so you said I get something from Rockwise to this?
You get to add an extra dice, so it's as if your skill is 1 higher. If you have any traits that can help you as well, you could apply those. They could also give you a bonus dice.
Let's see. What does natural bearings do?
That means that it's very hard for you to get lost. You have got a
perfect
good
in a
head for
maze
direction.
underground.
I've also got alert, so I might hear them more easily or something.
I think that seems pretty reasonable. You can add one of those.
So that brings me up to 6 total. Yeah.
Great. And I should have said this right off the bat. You are looking for 3 successes. This is an obstacle 3 test. 4s, 5s, and 6s are successes.
I've got 3 6s, a 4,
Whoa.
2 4s, and a 1.
Oh, beautiful. So, your team makes its way down into the tunnels through one of the sort of outbuildings, a little sort of mouse tenement that Oswald pointed out. And after going through like a series of cellars and root cellars, because you're amongst tree roots, you start to see like radiating cracks that sort of go like up the wall and across the ceiling of the few places that sort of are starting to bear the load of this giant beast. And as you go, the sort of that malty smell of a brewery starts to become more and more distinct. Mm-hmm. As well, the damage to the tunnels gets worse and worse, but they're still holding. There's a few places where you see like a rock's about to fall and you sort of like move like a little bit of detritus in the way to sort of keep it propped up as you sneak past. You get to the basement of the brewery. The door frame in there has actually been warped so bad that the door has sort of exploded off into pieces. And you can see that the bottom of it is actually pretty messy. It looks like some of the brewing equipment has burst, and there's like a combination of sort of like wart and water and just sort of like roasting grain all over the place. There's a little bit of a sort of a haze in here as well. There had been some small fires sort of going with that new still that he set up. It looks like that has gone out and is now just sort of adding to the malaise of the place. And on the far side, you find the tunnel that'll take you into the pub. And yeah, as you get close, you hear sort of like some weak sort of scrabbling sounds. And as you sort of make your way into that, you find that there are 3 of the mice there. One of them has basically had one of the sort of big sort of like huge like wine barrels has rolled over and is on his tail.
Okay.
And so he's sort of been trying to deal with that. The weak sort of scrabbling sound you heard was one that's digging towards a collapsed tunnel at the back. And then there's one who's just like lying down and just looks like hell. They don't necessarily notice you coming because y'all are pretty sneaky. What are you guys gonna do?
Okay, well, I have I give some healing herbs that I have to Noir to look after the one who's hurt, and I want to go to the barrel and try and lift it off, even if I have to using my axe. And you've got your spear.
Use it for leverage,
and try and roll the barrel off the tail, because if we can't, I'm chopping off his tail to get him out of here.
Fair enough.
You
Okay.
should give me healing herbs. I have no skill with healing.
You can roll something that you don't have a skill in, of course. That's where the nature trait, nature ability in this game can come in. You can make a roll using your sort of inherent mousiness to either help you or to represent like an inner reserve of strength.
Sure, but fair enough. You can use your spear to try and leverage the barrel off, and I'll use my healing skills then on the other guy. The one who's scrabbling, I also want to be able to just calm him down. I don't know how I would do that, just to be like, we're here, we're going to get you out, and we're not going that way.
Just give him some kind words to do the job.
Yeah.
So yeah, you sort of make yourselves known. The scrabbling guy is still pretty panicky, but he's relieved to see members of the Mouse Guard. And they're sort of immediately just like, help us. Oh, we thought we were done for. The roof still groans once in a while. It sounds like this place is going to come down.
Okay, the one who's scrabbling looks physically healthy.
Two missing ones are.
He's going to help carry the hurt one, and I'm going to help Noir get this barrel off of the tail.
Cool. And Noir, when you ask if they know where the other two are, they'll say, "Oh, yes, Leaf and Sigurd. They were in the wharf. We saw it coming up, and we ran to the tunnels, and we thought we'd be safe, but it collapsed. I'm not sure if they made it."
So they're on the other side of the collapsed tunnel.
Yeah, and that's what the scrabbling guy was trying to get at.
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to get these 3 out
after this.
Yeah. So, person who's trying to move that barrel, This is going to be a straight up sort of physical check. Please roll me a health test. And it's going to be obstacle 2. We can only get 2 successes.
Okay, let's...
Now, because you're using your spear, I'm also going to let you add an extra dice to that. You got the right stuff. A nice long lever.
Am I assisting in any way?
You could if you'd like.
Yeah, because I'm just right now talking and directing around. But if I can assist with the barrel,
Yeah, you can hop on and lean on that spear too if you want.
Scrabbler's gonna help with the injured one and pick them up. I haven't asked for any of their names. I'm realizing. But the one who is scrabbling seems to be physically healthy enough to help at least help carry or lean on the injured one.
Yeah, the injured one looks like a rock fell on his head or something. He's just not feeling too good.
That's fine. So Scrabbler's going to help with concussion, and I'm going to help Noir with this barrel because this is a 2-mouse job.
Great. So yeah, you get to add another dice to that, Noir.
Okay, so that brings me to 6 again.
Nice. You're only going to get 2 successes. You got pretty good chances.
4, 5, and 4 1s.
A 4, a 5, and 4 1s.
Ooh.
Thank God you only needed 2 successes. That was close. So yeah, you're like hauling on it, and then just who you're playing again? Ocean hops on it, and like you basically have to like get up on the spear, right? And it's bending pretty hard, but whatever was sort of in the way eventually gets overcome, and it rocks over it. And the other mouse pulls his tail out like right away and just sort of scrambles towards the tunnel you guys came in through, and is just like holding the door frame and sort of just like breathing sort of easy for the first time in a while.
Quick looking around, the way we came in, the wharf where the other 2 are, is there another way to get to them from here, or are we going to have to get out and go in from another direction?
It looks like you're going to have to get out.
Okay. Because I was going to lead them back to the door of the brewery and then send them on their way and go back in for the other 2, but if there's I don't want to do that. That's fruitless.
Yeah, it doesn't appear to be another way. Now, let's do
cool.
a snap cut to what's going on outside with that turtle.
Nothing good.
Probably nothing good. So, Tom, I believe you were trying to distract it?
Yes.
All right. And you're going to be doing this with your bow.
Uh-huh.
What skill should that be?
Fighter, right?
Could be fighter. We could also argue that this is a manipulator check because you're trying to make it do a thing that it doesn't necessarily want to do, right? You're trying to be tricksy. I'm going to give you your choice between manipulator or fighter.
Well,
are you trying to be more annoying or trying to be more accurate with your shots?
Well, I guess I'm trying to be more accurate with his shots because if I don't get it somewhere sensitive, he's not going to even notice.
That's true. So yeah, fighter is going to be fair.
It is my best skill, so I'm
going to be opposing that with the nature stat of this snapping turtle.
Oh, okay.
So this is a versus test. Whoever gets the most successes wins.
So it's not stat plus skill, it's stat or skill?
It's stat or skill.
Okay.
Okay, so as soon as I fire the shot, I'm going to immediately go into hiding. And if it misses, then I'll have to come out again and just keep sniping that way. And I definitely want to distract him, but I don't want to get Ian at the same time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. So that is what you're doing, and it is going to be basking in the sun. I was going to roll my physical dice like a fool, but I can just do it on here.
Well, I got 1 success.
Oh, no.
That's very bad. Oh, I rolled garbage, but I got 2 successes. So
did it not notice?
There's a bit of meta choice here. Actually, you know what? I got this. So you're shooting at it, and it's like bouncing off of things, and like the turtle's enjoying itself. Its eyes are like kind of half closed. It like opens one at a time. When they're open, they're mostly looking at the mice and thinking thoughts of murder. And you finally sort of like steel yourself, peek out from your cover, remember your training, and get a shot perfectly in its eye. And although turtles are known for being slow, snapping turtles are capable of great bursts of speed. And that huge head snaps right around and sees you.
Okay, I'm running.
And it begins to
cover.
It begins to make its way towards you.
I do have the take cover instinct, so
you do. So you're diving for cover right away. You're on the brewery side of the marketplace, and so it just starts. It basically just pushes the whole brewery out of its way, the same way that you'd take a throw pillow off a couch.
Jeez.
Sending debris
we're underneath that
off into the lake. And so yeah, a little puff of smoke kind of comes out as the building gets destroyed, and the fog of.
Oh, so it's not just like pushed aside; it's gone.
What's happening to the tunnels immediately underneath the brewery?
The way you would toss a throw pillow.
World of cardboard.
Oh my god! So it's like it's like a Power Ranger scene there with the cardboard cities. And meanwhile, Noir and I are underneath the brewery in the tunnels, as everything must just be.
We're in the pub. Well, under the pub.
Well, you're in the pub. And, like, as this is going on, you guys are just sort of, like, getting everybody rescued. You free the guy's tail. He goes to take a breather by the doorway to the brewery. And then rumble, 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 collapse. And so that mode of egress has collapsed to you.
Our exit?
Your exit has collapsed.
Oh, fuck.
The brewery's destroyed. And the turtle is now chasing poor Tom, who has ducked for cover and hopefully is hiding real good. And at that point, we're just past the hour.
What about me?
We'll get to you. We're saving you for the dramatic next bit, unless Justin feels we have time now.
I mean, you can set up what your move's going to be.
That's a really good spot to end.
This is a nice cliffhanger. Derek, if you absolutely want to set up what you're about to do, and we'll just start it right in the next episode.
Well, we'll do
That's
it
a great idea.
episode.
Frame for us how Sloan is going to capitalize on the massive, damaging success that the distraction plan had.
Sneak in the back? I mean, I can't really think of a great dramatic way of doing this. She's just darting in the back once the turtle is distracted.
Great. Cool. And so yeah, you duck in the back door as soon as the turtle's distracted, and that's where we'll leave things off.
I heft my axe.
You heft your axe.
I acquire useful herbs and objects.
I like to think when you acquire useful herbs and objects, you're just eating out of like a packet of trail mix.
I love it.
What, like you in
Friday the 13th?
Yeah.
Yeah, you acquire herbs. You're just constantly smoking.
Yeah. Got a lovely bowl going at all times.
Keep in mind that for one mouse, a marijuana leaf would last for a year.
For years.
Yeah.
So that's our first episode of Mouse Guard, dealing with the turtle. We'll be back next time for the second episode. For now, your members of the Mouse Guard have been from Edmonton.
I'm Derek the Bard from Chasing the Muse.
Live from Brampton.
I'm Tom. He is an evil genius. Wait, playing Tom.
Connecting in from and connecting in from parts unknown through our Patreon rewards program.
Noir, and it's all thanks to Volsar.
And I'm Justin Ecock here in Toronto, and our game master,
Will Mitchell out in Edmonton.
See you next time.